This guy. I can't get over this poll. This poll number of Latino voters just came out from USA Today. My goodness, this is brutal, devastating. 48 to 39. My gosh. No. Let me get the right number here. Was it 48? It's big. I mean, it's real big, and it just continues to point towards the historic response and enthusiasm that Trump is enjoying. There's going to be enthusiasm tonight here in Ohio. We're in Columbus for the kickoff of the Battleground Talkers Tour. I'll be on stage with Hugh Hewitt. Bernie Moreno, who is challenging Sherrod Brown here in Ohio, is going to be on stage. Dave Yost and many others at the Genoa Baptist Church. I'm told we have just under 1,000 people already lined up and tickets ordered, so we'll see you tonight. And then from here we go to Philly. I'll be at the Fuge along with Larry Elder and Chris DeGaulle. That's Thursday night. And then big wrap-up on Sunday in Phoenix. Big, huge lineup there. Charlie Kirk and Seb Gorka and Gallagher and Kerry Lake and Seth Leibson. Who am I missing? It's going to be a terrific, terrific event. For tickets, they're all on one site, battlegroundtour.com, to order your tickets. Don't miss out. We'll see you there in person. And there is a lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm in the air. And, of course, if Trump wins, it will be the ultimate act of vindication. Dinesh D'Souza is the author of over 15 nationally renowned books. I got to travel the country with him back, years ago with Obama's America, the Barack Obama dynamic that was based on the 2010 book, The Roots of Obama's Rage. Vindicating Trump is now available at salemnow.com. Let's welcome back to the Mike Gallagher Show the one and only Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh, did you see this poll just came out among Latino voters? It's not even close, Dinesh.
It's not even close, and I think what that means is that both for Trump and for Harris, the masks are falling off. And here's what I mean. The media has created this kind of Halloween ogre mask for Trump. He's a bad guy, he's a dictator. And then you see Trump in his overalls and Trump doing his one-line quips. And so Trump is breaking out of the mask and he's saying, here I am. I'm not this scary guy they're making me out to be. I am a threat, but not to democracy, only to the police state that the left is trying to establish in this country. And meanwhile, Kamala Harris' mask is also falling off because they've created this kind of Cinderella mask, the new and improved Kamala Harris, the secret genius that we haven't met before. And then you encounter the real idiotic, nothing upstairs, giggling, trivial Kamala Harris. And you're like, actually, no, we're not, the emperor has no clothes, so to speak. So I think what's happening is the real Trump and the real Kamala are finally emerging before the American people. And it's not really a hard choice.
Here's this poll that just came out from USA Today, Suffolk University, among Latino voters. Trump 49% to Kamala Harris's 38%. Dinesh, he's got an 11-point lead right now among Latino voters. No Republican in history has ever performed this way. And all signs point towards a big Trump victory. I had a friend text me last night, Mike, do we dare to dream? And I get it. I understand the reluctance because it's almost, Dinesh, things are coming together too nicely right now. It's almost too good to be, it feels too good to be true.
Mike, you and I were around for 1980. I was a teenager. I just come to the country. You might remember that between Carter and Reagan, it was very close, going all the way into the final stretch. And then something happened, which is that people had already decided the country was going in the wrong direction. Carter, kind of like Biden-Harris, was a massive bungler on the foreign and domestic front, but people were unsure about Reagan. It's like, can we hand over the reins to this guy? And it became supremely clear in the last couple of weeks leading up to the election that, yeah, Reagan wasn't this kind of buffoon that the media had made him out to be. It would be fine. And so people were like, all right. And then there was a tidal shift toward Reagan. I think something similar is happening with Trump. I know in my neighborhood in Texas, which is a red neighborhood, but in 2020, there were very few people wearing MAGA hats, very few people with Trump signs, very few people openly identifying with Trump. That's different this year.
I was just talking to one of the guys here in the Columbus radio station, Alan, who was telling me about a rural community. He showed me a picture of a big barn with a huge Trump sign, and they even light it up at night. And it got me to thinking about driving through neighborhoods here in Ohio, and tomorrow we'll be in Philly. It kind of takes a lot of guts to put a Trump sign out in the front yard, doesn't it?
It really shouldn't. And I say this because even many people on the Republican side have over time bought into certain ideas about Trump that aren't really true. So, for example, the idea that somehow Trump is a man of like defective moral character, but guess what? I like his policies. Well, actually, when you look at Trump's character, Trump has very good character. I mean, in other words, people say, well, he was a playboy. Well, no one's saying he's a playboy now. He's a reformed playboy. All right. He's an egotist. Well, Trump in public is egotistical, but anyone who's been up close with Trump knows he's actually very, he's a very whimsical, self-deprecating, shows a lot of interest in people. Those are not the trademark qualities of a narcissist. Trump is a bully. Well, he bullies other bullies, but he doesn't bully doormen and cab drivers and waiters. And then look at Trump's virtues, notably the supreme virtue of courage. I mean, this guy has more courage than the entire Republican Party put together. And he's shown it not just in the way that he has braved through the legal cases, but also the way he responded to the 2 assassination attempts. I don't know anyone alive who would have responded in the way that Trump did.
All right, I shared a story with the audience a few minutes ago about flying here to Columbus, sitting next to a guy who was a big fan of the show, and he said, Mike, I'm a Christian. I just don't like his language. I just am having a hard time. And I don't know why, because I'm the least qualified to talk scriptural, knowledge with anybody. I mean, I'm a Bible believing Christian, but there are people I'm talking to somebody who's far better equipped to talk about the Bible and scripture than me. But I shared with him about the story of King David, and I talked about King David, and I think there is such a parallel, and I want to kind of pick your brain on this a little bit. King David was an adulterer. King David was, in many ways, did a lot of wicked things. And God loved him. God blessed him. God chose David to lead his people. I think the parallels between Donald Trump and King David of the Bible are profound and pretty overwhelming, Dinesh.
Let's remember that David was not just an adulterer, he was a murderer. And because he murdered the husband of Bathsheba to get him out of the way. So he was, in that sense, much more distant from the commandments, you would say, than someone like Trump. And that's a message, because I think if some of the holier than thou Christians lived in David's time, they would say things like, why is David being so provocative and going around with the slingshot? Why doesn't he learn to fight Goliath the way that we do? What about all that Bathsheba business? Let's start a group called Never David. And if you think about the hidden implication here, Mike, it's actually very insidious, because these Christians are basically saying that God himself doesn't have high enough standards. In other words, God chose David, but God could have done better. God should have held him up to the same standards that we do. We are, in a way, Christians who are holier than God. I mean, think of the prideful implications of all this as you think about it. So in other words, I'm not quite as charitable to Christians who take this view, because I think ultimately it's a cover for cowardice and for inaction. It's a way of pretending to be strong. It's kind of like the guy who runs away from the battlefield and goes, in doing that, I'm showing true courage. And the actual soldiers who are risking their lives, those are the guys that I can look down upon.
There's a total absence of grace with these people. They claim to be faith-filled, deeply religious people, and yet they're willing to vote for a woman who will not even stand for any restriction on abortion whatsoever. Absolutely comfortable with late-term abortion. That's sheer evil. That is evil personified. And for people to say, well, I'm a good Christian and I can't forgive Trump for the porn star or whatever he had in his life, there's no grace there. There's no tolerance. There's no forgiveness. There's no empathy whatsoever. And grace is part of the Christian story, Dinesh.
as is accountability. Look, if you live in a monarchical or aristocratic society and you say, well, listen, I didn't choose my leaders, I didn't have any say over that, that's one thing. But in a democratic society, you are given a ballot. You are given a chance to participate, and choosing not to participate is itself a moral choice. So you are complicit, you are an enabler, you are bringing about collectively, along with your fellow citizens, the result that is going to occur. So anything that you do to help Kamala Harris puts you into her camp.
Let's talk about Vindicating Trump. It's available now. Our guest, of course, Dinesh D'Souza. You go to salemnow.com to order this. You could order the DVD. You could stream it. Tell us a little bit about what brought Vindicating Trump into being, and give us a little overview of this terrific movie, which I loved every second of it, and I hope everybody orders it.
Mike Trump is such an interesting fellow because he provokes these extremes of reaction. On the one hand, people who are devoted to him would take a bullet for him. On the other hand, people who will literally cheer, maybe silently, but they'll cheer nevertheless if someone tries to put a bullet in him. So you have to ask, when in American history has anyone provoked this kind of reaction? I think you have to go all the way back to Lincoln. And even with Lincoln, the division was not over Lincoln the man, it was over the issues, including slavery. I think with Trump, it is over the man. And so this film, this book, is a searching examination of Trump the man. And it's a defense of Trump, not just the policies, but also of Trump the man.
Hope everybody goes to salemnow.com to order it. You could buy the DVD, you could watch it, you could stream it, and it's one of your finest works, and that's saying something considering your body of work. Dinesh, great seeing you again. Keep fighting the good fight, my friend.
Mike Gallagher.
Early voting numbers are coming in from Florida. Oh my gosh. Duval County, Republicans up by 4.6. Miami-Dade, Republicans up 12.8. Palm Beach, Republicans up 17.2. Hillsborough County, Republicans up 15.4. Pinellas, Republicans up 25 points. Oh my gosh. Somebody just texted, somebody called the authorities. It's a bloodbath for the Democrats here in Florida. They're melting down. They're falling apart. I want to play James Carville for you. He's melting down big time. They know what's coming. I can't get over this Latino voter poll that just came out from USA Today, Suffolk University. Among Latino voters, Trump enjoys a 49 to 38 point lead. 49 to 38, 11 points over Kamala. Latino voters, Hispanic voters in America. Get ready for the category of black voters in America. No Republican has made these kinds of inroads, and they know it. People like James Carville are falling apart. They are coming undone. You want to hear an example of somebody spiraling out of control? I mean, look, he's always bombastic, and he's colorful, and he's kind of a fun cartoon character. He's got the Cajun accent and everything from Louisiana. But this guy is no fun these days. This guy is miserable, and he is clearly spinning like a top.
And, the other question is, were you better off 4 years ago? Are you going to be better off in a penitentiary 4 years from now, or still having the right of free speech and the right of political dissent? Because that's literally what's on the ballot. And I suspect in 1941, I don't know if people thought they were better off than they were 4 years ago, or in 1861, what people thought. But I know this, when the Republic was threatened, people picked up arms and answered the call. When 1965, in the middle of the Civil Rights Movement, I think people decided they want to take matters in their own hands and create a better country. And that's what I hope we do here in the next 2 weeks.
I don't want to be mean to this guy. In fact, he's colorful. I'll bet you I'd like him. I've never met him, but I'll bet I'd like him. He's a character. I like characters. Those are the ravings of a madman. He sounds like he ought to be in an insane asylum. Are you going to be better? You think that Trump's going to put you all in a penitentiary? You're on national television threatening that Trump is going to lock people up in a penitentiary. And on the subject of weaponization of the Justice Department, it's your party that did that to Trump. You think even the MSNBC audience doesn't know that it's the Democrats and the Alvin Braggs and the Tish James? You don't think people recognize that you took an expired misdemeanor and turned it into 39 felony convictions to try to lock him up for the rest of his life so that people can't vote for him? You tried to disqualify him by weaponizing the justice system, and you're belly aching about Trump? Who's he locked up? He was even asked, why didn't you lock up Hillary when you had the chance? He said, I wouldn't put the country through that. Nobody wants to see somebody like Hillary Clinton go to jail, no matter what I think of her. That's the reasonable, rational side of the equation, not the James Carville. They're going to put you in penitentiaries. It's like Joe Biden, we're going to put you all back in chains. Oh my gosh.